Sorry about that. We're live. So, I've been reacting to Canadian politics. Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney, forgot the woman's name. But this is a candidate, Alice Weidel.
As the first ever chancellor candidate for the AfD, what
sir?
can Germany, what would the world expect from a Chancellor Weidel? What would be your top priorities?
Well, actually, I would like to correct something. I don't want to be impolite, but you just labeled our party as right-wing, which is not correct in my perspective.
Why did you say right-wing? That's a left. No, I'm kidding. I don't know her yet, but she's basically the Trump of Germany, from what I've heard.
We are a libertarian conservative party in Germany. So we perceive ourselves standing in the middle and actually...
no way, they see themselves as the middle? It's kind of crazy.
wanting to introduce sane and serious policies. Because we see that this country is in need of real reforms. Let's have a look.
Just like everywhere else, I've heard Germany has the same problems. Too much unvetted immigration. It's getting too expensive. And, just green policies. All the above.
Look at Germany right now, where it stands. After 20 years, after 16 years of Angela Merkel, after 3 years of the traffic.
I heard she's a lesbian, though. I heard she's a lesbian that lives in Switzerland with her wife. And she's running for the Prime Minister of Germany.
Light coalition, actually funny name, right? Isn't it? Germany is not in a very good state. We have the highest energy prices worldwide.
Yeah, because you guys went fully green. Fully green.
We are in the middle of a migration crisis. We got a million influx of immigrants, illegals.
No matter what numbers they have, the numbers we had in America, it'll sound like so little compared to that.
Don't know. Germany actually literally has no borders, no border control, nothing.
Yeah, I heard that they so Germany opened their border because they're in the EU and they want to have open migration, whatever. And they're like, it would cost more for us to actually go in and close it now than just to keep it the same. So they just don't change anything. Interesting, right?
So we have criminal rates skyrocketing, and taxes are too high. So a middle-class taxpayers earning, let's say, 50,000 euros a year has to pay over half.
Yeah, same with Canada, same with California. Crazy taxes.
So I think there's a lot of room of real policy making, lowering taxes, and then having also a serious energy policy. Germany is the only country having switched off nuclear power plants. So this country government has imposed a obnoxious policy making. Having a industrial country like Germany.
Yeah, they're Germany is known for working in industrial. They have BMW, they have Audi, they have all this, right? So it doesn't make sense why you would use green energy when it makes things more expensive. If they just used gas, went back to gas instead of all this green stuff, I feel like their companies would start making so much more money.
Germany just being supported. Sorry, it's very important to have a status quo here. To have an industrial country like Germany, just being
destroyed,
dependent on solar and wind power. And this is not serious, right?
So translate that into me for sort of top 3 policy initiatives that you would put in if you were Chancellor of Germany.
Border control.
Border control? What does that mean?
Lowering taxes and switching on the nuclear power plants.
And one of the other sort of things that I think...
there you go. Her, what she wants is border control. Turn on nuclear plants. Forgot what the other one was.
Nuclear power plants. Lowering taxes.
Lowering taxes.
And switching on the nuclear power plants.
Sounds like Trump.
And one of the other sort of things that I think sort of concerns many people within our audience, particularly the investor, business, and economist community, is this idea of withdrawing from the euro, of withdrawing from the EU, which would seen by many.
Yeah, that's interesting because Germany, I'm pretty sure, is one of the leaders of the EU. So if say the US pulls out and then Germany pulls out, I mean, you have all the other countries left, but what's stopping, say, France from pulling out too?
In the mainstream, yes, as economically catastrophic for Germany. Many of the right-wing parties that have been successful in Germany have abandoned this initiative. You have not. Why?
66% of CIOs deploy automation for productivity. To scale successfully, companies need automated tools for
We don't see that the European Union in its current state is an institution that is working well, right? So what we need to have is free trade among the European countries.
No. Are you telling me it's like Canada, where they don't have free trade? I'm going to look this up. I have to look this up. How does trade work between EU countries? Because if they're charging each other, that's kind of crazy. It's like Canada, interprovincial trade they have. Trade between EU operates within the framework of European single market. One of the EU's most significant achievements. Here's how it works in a nutshell. Free movement of goods, services, capital, and people. The single market eliminates barriers to trade among 27 EU member states. This is built on 4 freedoms. Goods, products can move across borders without customs duties, tariffs. Oh, so there's like free trade or economic restriction. Ensure goods meet the same requirements everywhere in the EU. Companies and professionals can offer services like banking, consulting, or construction in any EU country without needing separate licenses per country, though some sectors have specific rules. Money and investment flow freely, enabling business to operate and invest across borders seamlessly. Workers can move and work in any EU country, supporting labor mobility. Though this isn't directly about trade, it underpins... You know, I'm not going to lie, that's kind of cool. But let me go back, see what she said.
The European Union in its current state is an institution that is working well, right? So what we need to have is free trade among the European countries, but we don't need all the bureaucracy. So example, the European Commission, which is actually not voted, right?
Okay, so it says, yes, trade between EU countries is a form of free trade, but it's not free trade in the absolute unrestricted sense. It's better described as regulated free trade with the framework of European single market and customs union. All right. Interesting.
So you have a executive power like the Commission with also legislative power that is not elected. So this is a huge democratic deficit. So this Commission decided just to forbid diesel and benzene, like all the traditional fossil motor, right? So what happens is that they actually ripped off the German automotive sector.
Yeah, that's
and
what
this is also, in my perspective, something. It's something like a socialist policy making, that you destroy the market mechanism within Europe. And that's the reason why we say, look, we don't need a commission that is actually destroying the foundation.
It kind of sounds like well, not exactly, because there are a bunch of countries put into the EU, but it seems like the idea itself is good, but there's so much bureaucracy that it kind of negates any good that comes out of it.
Of our continent, what we need is free trade among the European countries.
Yeah. Many people are critical of the EU on many of the points that you make here, but very few are making the case for withdrawal from the EU, and specifically on the euro. How do you envision?
So it sounds like she's pretty intent. She would want to pull out of the EU.
And that happening, was it a return in Germany to the Deutsche Mark? Is it then, explain to us the mechanics of how you imagine that working if you had your way.
Well, this is the entire the entire discussion around the Dexit, right?
Yeah.
So
Dexit. Brexit,
we
Dexit.
think that the European treaties need to be reformed so that every country within the European Union has a right, first of all, to have a veto against the Commission. For instance,
All right, so this part is I need some time to understand it because it's like an extra step after American politics, right? Because you have your own country's politics, but then there's also the bureaucracy of the EU. So,
that the German government could say, okay, we don't agree, we say no. Mm-hmm. So the veto power in the European treaties.
yeah, so it also sounds like sometimes the individual states are a little powerless because of, say, what the EU as a whole has agreed on. And it seems like she wants more individual say from each country, veto ability.
And if a country wants to leave the European Union, why not falling automatically into a free trade zone? I highly recommend just a free trade zone because all the bureaucrats, thousands of them, like eating up taxpayers' money, they just disturb real competition among the European countries. We don't need all of the...
So basically a free trade zone is a designated area within country where goods can be imported, stored, handled, manufactured, or re-exported with reduced or no custom duties, taxes, or stringent regulatory oversight. Provided they comply with the country's trade laws, these zones are typically established to boost economic activity, which they need, attract foreign investment, which they need, and facilitate international trade by minimizing barriers like tariffs and quotas. They're often located near major ports, airports, or borders to leverage geographic advantages. For example, the United States, there are called foreign trade zones and are governed by the U.S. Customs Service and Foreign Trade Zones Board. Companies can defer duties on imported goods until they enter the domestic market, avoid duties entirely if re-exported, or benefit from inverted tariffs by paying lower rates on finished products rather than components. Globally, notable FTZs include the Dubai Airport Free Zone, which offers tax exemption and full foreign ownership, and the Shanghai Free Trade Zone in China, known for liberalized trade policies. That's good.
These bureaucrats that have actually who have no clue what they're doing and destroying our foundation in the European Union. Look at the German car market, for instance.
But of course, this was also the Brexit dream, and that is a dream that I think by most accounts has not really materialized.
Yeah, but it depends how it's implemented, you know? Like, if you Brexit and don't implement properly, like your policies afterward, of course it's not going to work out as well.
The United Kingdom, and in fact now trying to restrike trade deals with
know
Europe.
The reasons for that? The reason is very simple. Actually, they used the Brexit, the European Union used the Brexit to actually exclude Great Britain from the European market. That was actually
That's
almost
part of the arrangement.
No, but you cannot do that. You cannot do that.
Yeah, that's like you're retaliating for them leaving and making a decision that they don't want to be part of you. Like, but then again, it's like I guess don't they technically have the right to not work with you? You know.
This is not competition. This is no market competition. What we need to have is a free zone, and someone who decides actually. I have something against, like Cameron did. Yeah. He said, look, I don't agree with open border policies. I don't agree with your policies at all. So please reform yourself. And if they don't move, it is his right as a sovereign state just to step back and say, look, we step out. But then a country should automatically fall in a free trade zone.
Right, but should and do are sort of sometimes different. On the issue of the United States and Donald Trump.
No, sorry, it is nonsensical. It is nonsensical because the European Union in this current state is not democratic, first of all. And secondly, you have no real competition.
May I ask your perspective on the election in the United States, the
go.
relationship with Donald Trump and Germany, who
American.
maybe shares some of the same views, particularly on immigration, but also in a sort of very nationalist view of things, would be very damaging economically for Germany. How do you imagine that relationship? How damaging do you think that could be to Germany? How does it change your view of the United States as very critical over its influence over Germany and Europe?
Taking the time to savor Thomas's crunchy yet soft bagels.
Thanks, Tom.
It's Tom, actually.
Well, first of all, when I saw the elections in the US, I almost had physical
she got
pain.
Excited. Oh.
How Donald Trump and his family was disparaged by the mainstream media.
It's so funny to me to see a foreign leader or whatever kind of hyping Trump. That's so rare.
I really had physical pain to see that. Like how unfairly he was treated by the mainstream media. So I have to be very frank.
Except for Fox.
I actually put my thumbs up for Donald Trump. We have huge hopes with in his presidency. And I really hope that...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk spoke at one of their rallies and said, AfD is the only way forward or something.
He puts an end on this terrible war in the Ukraine. Because the European...
There we go. Oh my God, the first European leader I've heard said, let's put an end to the war. Like the leader of Denmark was like, we need to win the war against Ukraine. What's his name? Keir Starmer wants to put British soldiers down, and it's like, what?
Member states are actually not willing or capable of doing something like that. So we have to tell the truth. That
yeah,
we're not
like... The NATO countries were struggling to pay the 2%. So it's like, you're going to spend all of your resources to protect Ukraine that's not even in NATO. So it's like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Not capable anymore.
Peace is the only answer.
I think, because you asked me on trade policies, I think that gambling with tariffs and actually imposing them effectively is a huge difference. And
How so? Explain.
Having a look on our car makers, for instance, because German policy makers,
So if Germany gets hit with tariffs, like Trump most likely will do, does that mean the price of BMWs will increase by like 25% or whatever his tariff's going to be?
Always say, okay,
it might.
German car makers might be hit very hardly by tariffs, but they're already there with their plans. BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, they have almost, I think, 25,000 employees in the US. Mm-hmm. So the firms, the companies, the German companies, they are already in the US. And do you know why? Because of high energy prices here in Germany. So the policies,
the policies of Germany basically are chasing away jobs to America, because especially now with Trump wanting to drill baby drill, it's going to be so much easier. So it's like, it's almost doing worse for your citizens if you just keep it the status quo by this whole green mission.
Actions policies being imposed on German companies by our own policymakers actually led them to build plants in the US and abroad, because here they cannot produce anything anymore on a competitive level.
And another question that you had your co-chair out this weekend talking about NATO and the relationship of Germany.
Your guys' perspective, is it true? Are a lot of companies moving out? Seems that way.
Germany to NATO, saying that basically Germany should consider leaving NATO in its current arrangement. Is that a position that you agree with, and on what basis?
Well, this is not exactly what he said. He said that
she's cool. She like calls out everything.
That we need to strengthen the European pillar within the NATO. What does it mean? Well, our security interests are pretty much different from the US within the NATO. And I think, in my opinion, that the Europeans should put their act together, doing more within the NATO. Germany.
Yeah, that's what's weird to me. Like, so Trump and Putin are pretty much negotiating peace right now, and they don't want to involve Ukraine or Europe. And Europe is having these emergency meetings, freaking out that, oh, we want a seat at the table. But it's like, if you would have listened to Trump back in the day and actually spent the money on your defense, you would have had much more leverage in this situation. And instead of complaining about not having enough leverage, you would have already been at the table. Plus, besides that, like, Biden was in charge for the past 4 years. This war was going on. If they really wanted to end it, they could have ended it. They could have negotiated when Trump wasn't in office, right? So that makes sense.
For instance, never have been paying 2% of GDP at all. So therefore, Donald Trump is perfectly right. So we need to contribute to NATO. But it's also in our responsibility to formulate our national interests, because our national interest is quite different from the US.
An ocean apart.
And it's very simple why. The US is very far away, and here in Europe we have this war in front of our doors.
Yeah, like trying to justify the war in Ukraine and spending so much money, which, by the way, Zelensky doesn't know where 100 billion of it went. As an American, it's like, I'm absolutely against it, because what do we have to do with that area? Nothing.
So our security interest is completely different.
Do you see Germany's interests as more aligned with Russia's interests than with the interests of the United States?
Well, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think Germany should have taken a more diplomatic part, but Germany failed in doing so. And I think that Donald Trump is really capable to sit together with Russian diplomats, with Putin, to formulate a freedom treaty, because what we need is freedom, because otherwise I'm in fear, to be honest, that this conflict, this terrible war,
will spill over,
may escalate.
And on the question also of Ukraine, you've also talked about sort of reconnecting with Russia, reconnecting Russian gas, basically going back to the old German model of lower cheap...
Yeah, that's funny too, because Trump was getting mad at that, of having the pipeline with Russia. But I mean, if Germany left the European Union and they just had an individual deal, that might work.
Russian gas coming in to support industry. Why are you so confident in being so dependent on Vladimir Putin, particularly in light of what we saw over the last years? Why are you so confident to hand that dependency to Russia rather than with people that you have potentially...
See, even like Germany's green thing, to me, maybe someone can correct me, there's not that many people in here, like the Canada stream, but it just seems like it's like a... Like, you can never have Vladimir Putin win, right? So in order to have Putin lose, you don't buy any gas. In order for you not to buy gas, you move your whole country to green energy. You move your whole country to green energy, and it gets really expensive. So it's kind of confusing, you know? I just feel like if they just work together, instead of trying to go to war with Russia, trying to expand on its borders, if they kind of just negotiate in good faith, everybody could get gas, like the whole area would be richer. That's why I don't understand. Why do all the politicians beat like the war drum? Everyone just wants to go to war in Europe.
A longer track record of a cooperative relationship and a more diversified source of energy.
Well, being dependent on Russian gas, you should really ask this question Angela Merkel, because
What's the policy you're advocating as well?
No. Wait. We want to have cheap energy and secure energy in Germany. This is what I stand for, and this is my humble opinion. This would be the right policy, and the the energy market is highly disturbed in Germany. We are the only industrial country having switched off nuclear power plants. You have to imagine this, right? So what we need to do...
I gotta look that up. I thought nuclear energy was considered cleanish energy, you know?
...is going back to cheap and secure energy support. Otherwise, our entire companies get bankrupt or they go abroad. Like thousands of people sit on the streets because the German companies actually go abroad. They go to the US.
Germany's decision to phase out nuclear energy, known as Energiewende, energy transition, stems from a combination of historical, political, and social factors rather than a single event. Germany's skepticism towards nuclear power began in the 1970s with the rise of the environmental movement and the Green Party. That's what we're seeing right now, which opposed nuclear energy due to safety risk and radioactive waste concerns. That's kind of fair, I guess. The 1986 Chernobyl disaster in the Soviet Union amplified these fears, galvanizing public opposition. So pretty much out of fear, they turned it off.
US, they go to China,
Fukushima.
They go to the neighboring countries because we cannot guarantee energy support anymore. So we need nuclear, we need gas, and we also need coal. All of this, like the solar and wind power plants, you cannot do this in Germany. It's not possible. And you don't need to be a very smart person, actually, to come to this conclusion. This is a funny thing, actually.
Same thing as Canada, same thing as America. We are the party of common sense. It's common sense. You need gas. Cheap gas makes your economy better.
And on the sort of question of European politics, again, sort of having seen some of the other far-right parties, or you dispute that categorization,
Absolutely.
But some of the parties that say some of the similar things.
Mm-hmm.
Are they really far-right, though? I mean, like, I see the symbols. I see what other media says, because there's this other German news I was watching. I can't stream them, but they make them seem really crazy. But so far, what she said, it doesn't sound that crazy. It's just the opposite of the Green Party. They want more gas. They don't really care about the green stuff. They want to work the pipeline with Russia, reduce taxes, close the border.
They have gotten...
In Germany, saying deportation is such a taboo word. In America, you can just say it freely. Over there, the politicians are like... That's a bad word, ma'am.
More to the center, we think of Le Pen in France, we think of Meloni in Italy. Is that something, an outline, a blueprint that the AfD is willing to follow in order to gain real influence in the German political debate? Or do you think that they have basically sold out?
Well, once again, in Germany, or the label far right is being labeled on people or party.
Who's even labeling them that? Did someone start that, or how did it start being labeled far right?
Like when people go to work, they earn money, they want to have border control. People who want their children to have a very good education, they're all labeled as right wing. So
yeah, that's true here too. Like, if you say, you know, you want America to be good for Americans instead of taking care of all foreigners, you know, sending money to this place for LGB, this place for condoms, like, is it so crazy to say, I want my government to take care of, you know, the citizens? I don't know. That's not far right.
I don't understand this label. I just suggest everyone to read our program, first of all. And we are a conservative, libertarian party. And what we want to have is, we want to have a future for the next generation here. And we don't want to have this chaotic politics being imposed on the people. And if you
know, like us regular civilians, man, we've had enough abuse. Let's have some governments work for us for a couple of years, all right?
Have a look on the Christ Democratic Party, Friedrich Merz.
Yeah, like even in Ireland, I was watching a video where people are protesting because Irish hotel there was, they had a bunch of illegals in there and they're just housing them. Lady's like, dude, like, why are they doing all this for them? Like, they've never done anything like this for us. It just doesn't make any sense.
it's a leftist socialist party already. So Chancellor Merkel is the first green chancellor Germany had. She ruined our country. She destroyed our backbone.
Just like
and
Trudeau.
This is the responsibility of the CDU, of socialist policymaking.
All right, and then let's watch she has one with Elon. I don't think this one is it's just voice.
Welcome, Alice. Thank you for joining Spaces, and I look forward to this discussion. And
This is so
perhaps
weird.
we could start by
Elon.
Outlining,
He threw out
if
that
you could
Roman
outline
salute
what
too, so it's kind of
AfD's platform is. What are the main things you're aiming for? Where does Germany need change? And just to educate people who have never heard of AfD or AfD, if it's German, because a lot of people, especially in America, have never heard of AfD. So perhaps this would be very helpful.
All right, guys, I'm gonna watch a little bit of this, and then I'm gonna go, because Trump is live right now in Miami. No idea what the heck he's doing there, but when Trump is live, you gotta watch Trump. So I'm gonna watch a little bit of this, and then I'm gonna go live about the Trump stuff.
Okay, thank you very much, Elon, for having me and to give this opportunity to openly speak about different matters. Let me can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Perfect.
Perfect and schlau.
To start with, who we are. The AfD is the alternative for Germany.
Alternative
This is
for
a
Deutschland.
relatively new party, founded 11 years ago. During the course
They're the new kids on the block, basically.
The Euro
Just like Reform UK.
problems. Unfortunately, I have to start when I shed some light on our party with
Yeah, I only watched one interview so far before this, and I already like them.
quite negative circumstances in Germany. Our country is a great country with highly motivated people.
I love Germany.
But our country has been governed not in a proper way within the last 20, 25 years.
I wonder how much corruption there's been in that government, and when will their USAID get exposed?
We had the Angela Merkel administration for 16 years.
That's
and then
16 years, Angela Merkel? Damn, and they want to say Putin is a dictator. I mean, he's been there for 25 years, but
so-called
14 is no
traffic
joke.
light coalition that imploded last year, and now we're heading elections. In my point of view, Angela Merkel, the first green chancellor, she ruined basically our country. She enforced, without asking the people, she enforced to
Everything
open our
woke
borders
goes broke.
for illegal immigration in 2015. She wrecked and destroyed our backbone in terms of obnoxious energy policy. For the foreign listeners here in this audience, Germany is the only industrial country,
Yeah, she said this in the first interview
that unplugged the nuclear power plant. So the aim of Angela Merkel was to enforce just
boring.
solar.
All right, guys,
and
I'm gonna go
wind
watch Trump. This is cool though. I like her policy. She's not that far right so far.